Cheerio, pip pip, and all that rot. This is the Juxtaposition channel. I'm introducing a new character to the Star Chamber team for investigative excellence. My name is Chief Inspector Smyth. I'm I'm part of an attaché of the United States Treasury Department where I worked for 20 years. Been reassigned to London, the City of London, the 32 boroughs of the City of London. I am headquartered in New Scotland Yard, which is on the banks of the River Thames at the Eye of Cleopatra, the obelisk, there on Victoria Embankment. That is where you'll find my office. I'm on the third floor, and yes, I do have my own parking spot. However, I don't drive to work. I live just 2 blocks away over at St. James Park, so I brisk morning to come over to the office. And I am not far from Buckingham Palace. I'm 4/10 of a mile from Charing Cross, which is a five-pointed star in the center, the city center of London. I want to point out to you that it was 1967 that we moved into this modern building on Broadway at Victoria Street. And it was at that time that Scotland Yard, which had been around since 1890, Scotland Yard changed the name because we moved into a new building for the Metropolitan Police Services, and we called ourselves New Scotland Yard due to the new building. It's the MPS, Metropolitan Police Services, which serve the 32 boroughs of London. Now, you know there's a 33rd borough in the City of London. It's referred to as the City of London Corporation. It's owned by Switzerland, and that is where you'll have the Blackfriars Bridge and the Masonic Temple and the banking sector of London, North London. And it is northeast of my office, and I am not permitted to go in there. It's across the Tower Bridge. You may be familiar with the Tower Bridge and the Tower of London and the beheadings that went on the little hillside outside of the Tower of London walls. You may be familiar with public executions and burials, and that's out of my district. That's not what I do. Anyway, today I wanted to present to you what I would refer to as the metaverse. The metaverse is not new. I want to emphasize the matrix of mendacity, which Juxtaposition coined years ago. He had it right the first time. Essentially, for the last 1,000 years, we've been in a metaverse, meaning that it's full spectrum dominance. You're surrounded 24/7 by liars, pathological liars, who are reading storyboards and scripts, and who take lessons and are promoted and pimped out by newspapers, radio, television, magazines, public appearances, sporting events. You'll see them at cricket matches. You'll see them at Wimbledon tennis. You'll see them at your Super Bowl, your World Series in America. You'll see them on television presenting as a fan of sports entertainment. But you'll also see them there at the theater, and you'll see them at concert halls. And people like in America, Rosie O'Donnell, who pretends to be a militant lesbian talk show host, unfunny comedian. Um, Really, they do recruit strongly from the comedian ranks and actors because that's what the job is. The job's an acting job. That's why Ronald Reagan was president of the United States, because he's a Screen Actors Guild champion. He was one of the very first stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame on Hollywood Boulevard. Ronald Reagan did receive his star on the same exact day that Joanne Woodward received her star, the very same day. Those were the very first stars. There were 16 stars that were unveiled back in 1961, and Ronald Reagan was one of the 16 stars of Hollywood. So it makes sense that he would be president of the Screen Actors Guild for 7 terms and that he would be the fake governor of California, and that he would become the fake two-term governor president of the United States, known as the laughing stock of the West. The office of President of the United States is a joke. Ronald Reagan is a jokester. He was one of the best joking presidents ever. Anyway, we have other clowns in the circus like Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan was a serious clown, but we had slapstick Ellen DeGeneres, right? And her cohort who's been murdered, John Twitch Boss, Stephen Laurel Boss. Stephen Laurel Twitch Boss. I don't know where I got the John. Anyway, Oprah Winfrey, she gave rise to Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil, a fake psychologist who doesn't see patients. He's not a clinician, doesn't see patients, but he has a TV show, or he had a TV show. Whoopi Goldberg, another unfunny comedian from New York. There's just no shortage of them. Bill Maher, another unfunny Jewish comedian from New York. We have Carrot Top, who is at the dilapidated Pyramid Luxor Hotel on Las Vegas Boulevard, South Las Vegas Boulevard, next door to Allegiance Stadium, where you pledge your allegiance to a 13-striped flag. The address there is 3333 Al Davis Way. Luxor Hotel is at 3900 South Las Vegas Boulevard. That is also a 3333, aka 12. You should know that we have Victor Davis Hanson. He's an unfunny fellow of the Hoover Institute from Stanford University. He's completely and utterly fake. He's not a military historian. He's a fraudulent military historian. And we have Anthony Napolitano, a fraudulent fake Superior Court judge, retired, and his fraudulent guests who appear on his show. They're all fraudulent. Jeffrey Sachs being the most regular guest on the Anthony Napolitano show, where they together pimp out and promote poppycock, balderdash, and mendacities like the United States Constitution, the right to vote, the separation of church and state, the division of the judiciary from the executive branch, from the legislative branch, the Congress of the United States. This is, of course, ridiculous. There's no such thing as a Congress. There's no such thing as a president. There's no such thing as a country. There are only Hunger Games and Hunger Game districts. And what I'm referring to you, based on my research at the Treasury and at the new Scotland Yard, in the 32 boroughs of London that I'm permitted to drive around on. And by the way, I don't carry a gun. I carry a whistle and a radio. A whistle and a radio. That's what we use in the city of London town. We also are permitted to carry our juxtaposition mugs and have a sip of tea. Cheerio, pip pip, and all that rot. I'm a member of the Bartholomew Club, where I typically have high tea twice a week. Over there at a men's club, women are not permitted into the Bartholomew Club. That should not be a surprise. Anyway, getting back to the influencers, we have Sean Stone, whose real name is Silverstein. He is the son of Oliver Silverstein. Oliver Silverstein Stone, who went to Yale and dropped out twice and then graduated from New York University. Oliver Stone is complete pseudo fake dramaticist. He promotes military intelligence themed films, like The Doors, like Platoon, like Wall Street, like JFK and JFK sequels, all poppycock balderdash. Just ignore Oliver Silverstein, delete him. Lives on Mandeville Canyon. It's easy to find his address. Um, he's not far from Rob Reiner's house. Rob Reiner, the dead people in their bed, dead in their bed at Rob Reiner's house. Oliver Stone is close to Conan O'Brien, and I'd like to say he was close to O.J. Simpson. He's actually one house away from O.J. Simpson, but of course the O.J. story is over. The house was torn down and rebuilt, and Kamala Harris lived another block away from O.J., so she's close to Oliver Stone, except she's getting a divorce and she's separating from her Jewish entertainment husband. So I don't know where Kamala Harris lives now. She probably is not in the same zip code as Oliver. Stone. But Oliver Stone is in military housing in the same way that they all are over there. O.J. Simpson was, and Conan O'Brien is. What does Conan O'Brien have in common with other people like Eric Schmidt of Alphabet Google? Well, they're members of the Bohemian Club, are they not? Yeah, they are. So we have a unfunny comedian from Harvard University, Conan O'Brien, and he's buddies with the evil empire, Eric Schmidt of Google, Alphabet, life sciences companies, and nanotechnology and data centers, right? So it's all one big, happy, dysfunctional family over there at the Bohemian Club. Other people that's in the Bohemian Club that I've met was I personally met at the Bohemian Club was George Shultz, who was the Secretary of State at the time I met him in the 1980s, and Caspar Weinberger, who was the Secretary of Defense. And I met Phil Harris, who was a comedian, dancer, orchestra conductor for Jack Benny for CBS radio and television. So they mix comedians and singers and band leaders with poets and novelists and pseudo leaders um, of our fake government. Because I can assure you that at no time did George Shultz have anything whatsoever to do with national policy of the United States. And it's pretty clear he didn't have much to do with the Bechtel Construction Company, which he was the president of. And Caspar Weinberger was the chief counsel, number one lawyer for Bechtel family. But that company is run by NATO. NATO. That's who the construction company builds roads and dams and bridges for, right? Then it blows them up and rebuilds them. So, Bechtels don't care. They make good money on building and rebuilding and then rebuilding again bridges, roads, and dams. Come on, John Leibowitz. You know John Leibowitz, right? A lot of people think he's Stewart. He's not. It's Leibowitz. It's a unfunny Jewish guy from New York. John Leibowitz Stewart. He's an influencer. Donald Trump, Kamala Harris, Jerry Brown, Willie Brown. Kamala Harris's sugar daddy, Willie Brown. Gavin Newsom, Arnold Screw Your Freedom Schwarzenegger. They're all fake California phonies, right? They're all fake. Barbara Boxer, add her in there. She's fake. She's a Jew from Brooklyn who became a United States Senator from California. She's fake. Dianne Feinstein, she's from San Francisco. She's a Jewish woman who lived at 2990 Broadway, last home on a dead-end cul-de-sac backing up to the Presidio Military Army Base. Anyway, she was next door neighbors with Gordon Getty. Gordon Getty and Ann Gilbert lived next door to Dianne Feinstein. They actually owned three houses next to her. They had a buffer house, so they didn't have to be too close to Dianne Feinstein. Seymour Hersh, Bob Woodward, Carl Bernstein, all fake journalists. They're not journalists. Bob Woodward has zero journalism experience, but they're fake book authors and they're fake storytellers. All right. Lionel, another unfunny comedian who worked for the district attorney's office in New York, city of New York. Um, he his real name is Michael LeBron. He rants every day about Trump and politics and MAGA. Just delete Lionel. Lionel is a loser. Lionel is a loser. Loser. Or is it loser, loser, loser? Lionel stands for loser. Michael LeBron. Larry King, he's passed away. Rush Limbaugh, all fake, phony influencers. All right. And then our society in the metaverse, they society, like the salad bar. You can work both sides of the bar, and they offer more choices than you want to choose. We create villains and heroes. It's very simple. Once you see the architecture of our society, the law enforcement is 100% compromised and infiltrated. District attorney, 100% of all the judges who wear the black robes with the 13 stripe American fake flag, they are 100% controlled. All the judges, 100%, not 99, 100%. Can't be a judge unless you're controlled. That means you probably have a file in the Jeffrey Epstein file cabinet. Okay. And these are the people that, the clueless, profane look to for help, which is really um, fraudulent because you're not going to get any help from law enforcement. Okay. Ever. If you want to get your bicycle back after it was stolen, you got to do it on your own or hire a private detective, but you're not going to get any help from the police. They're not going to get back your stolen property. More likely, if the police encounter your stolen property, they'll steal it from the thieves and bring it home to their home, or they'll take it to a pawn shop and sell it for some trivial amount of money because the police are in the stolen goods merchant exchange business, in case you didn't know. The police deal in stolen goods. If you don't believe me, why don't you go look in their lockers at the police department? You're going to find most of those lockers are empty since 99% of the confiscated evidence put into lockers at police departments and sheriffs are ultimately resolved with a plea agreement, meaning there's no trial, there's no jury, and there's no presentation of evidence. So the sheriff knows 99% of the time they can just steal what's in the locker and not get caught, right? And not get caught. And when the defendant asks for their things back, they just are given a lie cover story that the thrown out, right? Like a old tissue, like a used tissue. We threw out your laptop computer. Right. Sure you did. Anyway, we have villains like Samuel Bankman Fried, who grew up on the Stanford campus and graduated from MIT with a master's degree in electrical engineering. We have Michael Milken, who was a villain, and now he's a hero. He's a hero today, promoting data centers and the AI. But he was a villain for many decades. He is a shark on Wall Street, right? Junk bonds attributed to Michael Milken, a Jew from Encino who had an office in Beverly Hills for Drexel Burnham. He was a villain for 50 years, but today he is a hero to usher in the AI. Steve Jobs, he's a hero, right? Steve Jobs wearing the Zoris and the sandals with no university education, no engineering, no software skills, working on children's video games at Atari, and then plucked up by Bob Valentine, who took Atari and sold it to Warner Brothers, and then recruited Steve Jobs to become CEO of a $2 trillion company, despite the fact that Steve Jobs knows nothing about computers whatsoever. And also recruited Steve Wozniak, who has an electrical engineering degree, but also knows nothing about running a big corporation. All right. John F. Kennedy is a hero. Ronald Reagan is a hero. Jamie Dimon of Chase, Morgan Stanley, he's a hero. The villains are, Larry Ratfink, Steven Schwartzman, Jennifer Doudna, although most people don't know who she is, but she's a villain. Klaus Schwab is a villain. Larry Ratfink is doing Klaus Schwab's job whilst also being the managing director of BlackRock. Steven Schwartzman is the managing director of Blackstone. It's a different company, does the pretty much same thing. They use financial terrorism to pacify and control the clueless American. Then we have Bill Gates, Lee Harvey Oswald, John Linley Frazier, and Charlie Manson, and William Cowley of the My Lai Massacre. Those are all bad guys. Those are the villains. They're villains, right? They're villainous. Turns out none of them are really like you think they are. They're identical to the heroes: Tom Brady, Steve Jobs, John F. Kennedy, Ronald Reagan, Jamie Dimon. Name your hero, your heroic person. Lance Armstrong, name him. His name is Gunderson. It's not even Armstrong, it's Gunderson. But my point is, just like John Stewart is really John Leibowitz, just like Oliver Stone is really Oliver Silverstein, it turns out that Lance Armstrong is Lance Gunderson. Nobody is who they say they are. By now, Lieutenant, you should know that no one in our industry is who they say they are. So Patrick McGowan said to Peter Falk in the Columbo episode entitled Identity Crisis. And you have an identity crisis whenever you're in a matrix of mendacity, whenever you're in the metaverse. In other words, everything is either 100% fake or it's substantially fake. That's AR versus VR. Augmented reality is partially real when you leave your home and you walk around your neighborhood and you see other people doing things. That's augmented reality. Then virtual reality is when you stay in your house on the video game, on looking at the television, looking at the podcasters. You're 100% in a fake metaverse. And that's called VR, virtual reality. The metaverse is a virtual reality, but they can occasionally punctuate it with some reality by murdering someone or having some children killed in a crosswalk, like the Iskander boys, Mark and Jacob, were killed in a crosswalk in Westlake Village on September 29, 2020, by some hot rodding drunk driver. Scott Erickson, World Series baseball pitcher for the Minnesota Twins, driving over 83. Grossman, a woman who has arrested development, stuck in the 10th grade, a 58-year-old woman who torpedoed two little boys, killing them almost instantly at, again, 83 miles an hour. When her airbag deployed, she was at 73 miles an hour, and she did attempt to flee the scene, like her boyfriend did successfully flee the scene. Scott Erickson, who is a protected Teflon Don of a man. Not much of a man, not much of a man, but he is exempt. Richard Gage of 9/11 Fake Truthers, architects and engineer. Richard Gage, complete fraudulent person. Don't believe anything he says. Glenn Greenwald, Edward Snowden, again, Oliver Silverstein, 100% pimps for mendacity. Edward Snowden's story is fake. Glenn Greenwald is fake. Oliver Stone is fake. Sean Stone, his son, is fake. They're working together now to promote Israel and Palestine, and talking trash about the Zionists in Israel whilst maintaining their Zionist stronghold in Brentwood, California, and Pacific Palisades. So I would say that they are forked tongue Jews. Forked tongue, they're talking out of both sides of their mouth. Anyway, that's what I've learned in America, and I've taken that knowledge over to London, where we have the exact same situation going on all over, all over the city, from Sir Albert Hall to the Palladium to the West End Mayfair district, and we have the Dorchester Hotel and the Grand Sheridan Hotel, and we have Green Park and Hyde Park. We have poppycock mendacity and balderdash 24/7 in the city of London, which has chemtrails being rained down from the sky daily, just like they do in Los Angeles, just like they do in Pacific Palisades, just like they do over Oliver Silverstein's house, just like they do in Monica and the Santa Monica Pier and Marina del Rey, Venice, Culver City. It's a cesspool of pollution in the air, aluminum and polymers, aerosol poisoning to human augment all of the clueless buffoons that are out and about, as well as to modify the weather and create fires upon demand. All right, I hope you enjoyed my video today. Again, I am Chief Inspector Smyth, part of an attaché group of expert level investigators for the United States Treasury, transferred over to the new Scotland Yard building there near the Victoria Embankment on Broadway at Victoria Street, just a couple blocks from St. James Park, where I reside in a beautiful townhome. And I do have a butler, yes, I do. And I do have a car. I have an Austin Martin high performance car, complete with submachine guns and an ejection seat. But I generally don't drive it. I use the company's car whenever I go out to investigate and to interrogate witnesses who may be um, associated with a homicide murder. That is my specialty, you know. Homicide. Murder most foul is what we call it in London. Murder most foul. Anyway, I'm very honored to join the Star Chamber team of Professor Engelstein, juxtaposition himself in the flesh, and to bring new modern techniques of new Scotland Yard to the Star Chamber team. Thanks for listening. Do like and share my videos because I am heavily shadow banned. Pip pip and all that rot. Cheerio!